Madrid wakes up to a heartbeat, a rhythm that echoed for centuries. Gold on silk, steel in sunlight, a stage built for beauty and for blood. They call it art, they call it courage, but as the gates swing open and the roar begins to swell, I cannot help but wonder, is this tradition or barbarity?
We are at Plaza de Las Ventas in Madrid. It is Spain's biggest bullfight ring with almost 24,000 seats. In today's video, we are going to have a look at one of the most controversial traditions of Spain, a tradition that divides the country. Some call it barbarity, others call it art. But one thing is for sure, it is a tradition that is hundreds of years old and dates back to medieval times. But before we continue with the bullfight in general and with the rather cruel part that is often being judged, we want to learn a bit more about the history of bullfights. So let's enter the museum here in Las Ventas. Bullfighting dates back to 711 AD, but the modern bullfights that we know from today, they started more or less in the 18th century. Here in Spain, the bullfights are seen more as a form of art or a performance rather than a sport. The matadors are being judged on their performance, more like a dancer. The ultimate goal is to demonstrate courage and in the end also kill the bull. However, there is a specific ritual behind the performance. The ritual reflects honor, courage, and sacrifice, values that are anchored deeply in the Iberian tradition since centuries. I will talk more about how a matador is being judged when we actually see the performance later on to be able to better explain it. For now, we are going to have a look at the bullring itself and the rooms and areas that we can see here.
They call it the dance of death. And for some, these ancient theaters are places where movement, color, and courage collide.
Matadors have to train for years before they even face their first bull. They have to learn the stanches, the cape movements, and everything to make it as safe as possible. However, these bullfights have a huge risk for the matadors, even after years as working in this profession. This little chapel here is often used by the matadors before a bullfight. They are quite religious and often make use of it. However, I wonder how it feels for them to enter the ring. It must be a tense moment for them, and they are definitely aware of the danger of these bullfights.
Hi, Miguel. You're going to do the bullfight today, right?
Yes, that's right.
And what do you feel before going in there? Do you feel fear or...
You feel a lot of respect above all, especially later when we're dressed as bullfighters and you see the people and you look up and see the whole crowd. Honestly, it's very imposing, but at the same time, it's very rewarding.
Bullfights are extremely dangerous, even for professional matadors. Injuries are nothing rare. Most injuries are rather small ones like tossings, bruises, trampling. They often get undocumented, but there are some severe injuries and matadors get hurt by the horns of the bulls. In that case, there is an emergency room that is fully equipped, and by law it has to be in every single bull ring. I'm trying to make this video as neutral as possible, showing both sides of the arguments, but I cannot deny that I definitely feel for the animals down there. When I did my research, I realized there are also horses involved in all of this. They are a big part of the opening parade, and the so-called picadores are lancers on horsebacks, and they are putting lances inside of the neck and the shoulder muscles of the bulls. This is meant to weaken the bull already at the beginning of the bullfight. These horses are being protected. Ever since 1928, there is a law here in Spain that is meant to protect the horses. They need to put on an armor on the horses, and it is a peto armor that is made of very strong materials, and it protects the horses from the horns of the bulls and also cushions it from a charging bull. The peto armor weighs 60 to 90 kilo, and it does sound intense, but don't forget that horses can actually pull carriages that are way heavier than that. Also, these horses are specialized horses. They are being trained so that they do not panic from a charging bull. However, it cannot be denied that there are still accidents that happen. Sometimes horses get bruised, they fall, and in very rare cases, there are also accidents with the horns of the bulls when they hit under the pito armor. This here next to me is where the bulls enter the bullring. Bulls are being transported here from their farms a few days before the bullfight or a few hours before the bullfight. They are kept in pens that are extremely secure because the bulls are super strong and the material has to be strong to avoid accidents or damage even. It is here on these doors that will be opened for the bulls to enter the bull ring. The bulls charge towards the matadors and, well, basically it is here where they are awaiting their last minutes. But one thing, before we judge already, of course, the bulls are being killed here in the arena. It is basically the goal of the bullfight. However, I want to mention one very important thing. A lot of people simply judge without really thinking about their own actions. A lot of us eat meat. A lot of us eat it on a daily basis. And let's face it, a lot of people are focusing on price rather on quality and buying always the cheapest meat. And that meat probably is being held under way worse conditions than the bulls. The bulls that enter the ring are only in between 3 and 6 years old, so they don't get very old. But during the time that they are alive, they have a life in basically perfect conditions. It is extremely important that the bulls arrive here in perfect condition. It is important that they don't have any injuries, that they are in perfect health. They get fed here, although not overfed, to maintain their agility and to not tire them. They are being treated quite well until they enter the bull ring. So the more research I did about this topic, the more I realized that it's not only about the suffering of the animals. There is way more behind it and way more things you need to know to build a proper opinion about it. However, it is a declining tradition. There are less and less people who are actually interested to see these bullfights. Especially younger Spanish people are against it. But the more research I did, the more I also realized that there is a lot of pain behind this. The horses that sometimes get injured, the matadors that in rare cases even get killed. And I haven't even started to talk about the cruel part of the bullfight and how it ends for the bulls. So I can't help but wonder, is all this pain really worth it to keep up a century-year-old tradition? It is a tradition that divides Spain. There are people who see it as cultural heritage and people who just see it as unnecessary suffering. In some places here of Spain, it is even forbidden to do the bullfights. The Canary Islands and Catalonia, for example, don't do them anymore. However, Catalonia tried to forbid the bullfights in 2010. In 2016, the National Court of Spain said that Catalonia cannot just forbid it. It is part of the cultural heritage of Spain, and therefore it is only the country, the government of the country, that can forbid these kind of bullfights. However, in Catalonia, they do not exist anymore, and the old bull rings are still standing, but they are being used for cultural things and musical events. So there is an alternative to keep using these places without animals and anybody getting hurt. This is a very touristic place. There are many people from Asia and also from the United States here, and I believe it's normal because Spain is actually connected to the bull. You can see pretty much in every souvenir store all over Spain souvenirs that have the bull's head on them. You came all the way from the United States to have a look at the museum today. And you said you aren't going to be here for the bullfight itself. Correct. Why did you decide to come here? What does the bullfight arena here mean for you?
Well, it seems to be very much part of the Spanish culture, and it's something that we don't have in the United States. And I just couldn't be in Madrid and not go to the bullring. I just couldn't do that. It's like going to Paris and not going to the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, in the United States, we have rodeos, which are cowboys and horses where they get off their horse and tie up the cow in a certain amount of time and things like that. But there isn't the same one-on-one
elegance and the dance and the performance in quite the same way. It's very much a ride in, get off your horse, tie up the cattle, and stand up.
Yeah, but also they don't kill the cows there, right?
Yes.
Like, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about the fact that here on the bull ring, actually they kill the bulls?
It does bother me a little bit. It's hard to put my cultural values on another country's cultural values, but It does bother me a bit. I don't think it's my place to judge, I guess is what I'm saying.
Now, why are bullfights still allowed despite the declining popularity and the huge animal rights opposition? Well, I could give you all the arguments for cultural heritage and so on, but let's face it, it's mostly money. This industry here in Spain is huge. It is worth approximately 1.6 billion euros, and there are hundreds of thousands of jobs involved in this industry. It creates a lot of work. A lot of people actually depend on the bullfights and they live from it. It is not only the bullrings here, it is the veterinarians that work here, it is the bull breeding farms where everything starts basically. A lot of things are involved in this industry and a lot of people really depend on it. Also the matadors, of course, they live from it and they do earn a very high salary per fight. Basically here in Spain they are treated like celebrities. Some of them at least. Now let me know in the comment section below if you would actually risk your life, literally, for a very good salary or not, and how high would this salary have to be per fight. We are now waiting for the bullfight to start. They are currently watering the bullring and, well, it's slowly filling up here. I'm not sure how I feel about this. I definitely have mixed feelings and I'm also not so sure if I will be able to watch this through entirely, but we'll see. And it looks like they are about to start the opening parade. It is a tradition that hasn't changed in centuries. The arena is far from being sold out, however, if you consider that this is actually the biggest arena here in Spain. I think there are a lot of people here. Most of them are elders, I would say, but also more than enough are more or less my age, and there are even some children here. There are lancers on horses. They stick their lances in the bull's necks, and that is meant to weaken the bull. And it looks, I don't know, it looks painful, to be honest. It feels a little bit like they're somehow making fun of the bull. I can't help it, I definitely feel for the animal, and there's already quite a lot of blood to see there. The matador just sticks some so-called banderillas into the bull's neck. It is also meant to kind of loosen the tension in the muscle there. That will help later on to bow the bull's head. So when the matador is meant to kill him, it will be easier because the head will be a little bit down. The crowd is getting emotional. And there's more and more blood flowing. And more banderillas coming. I would say it's already slower. I'm getting tired. The crowd is definitely getting excited. For me, this is hard to understand, I'm not going to lie. I see the bulls breathing hard and heavy. I see it suffering, but the crowd is cheering.
They call it a dance, but every dance has a last step, and here it ends in blood.
I'm pretty sure we are about to see the last minutes, seconds, whatever, of the bull. The matador is out there with a sword, and well, the bull is already pretty slow. There are occasions where they actually allow the bull to go back home to his farm, well, basically to breed further bulls of his kind, but only if the bull performs extraordinarily well, whatever that means. That one, without knowing that much about bullfights, seems to be tired already, so I do not believe they will let him live. There was just an accident with the matador. I don't know if he seems to be continuing. He just got ran over by the bull, but yeah, he seems to be continuing. And now the bull just got the sword into his neck. And it's still running. This is definitely not going to be a smooth death, that's for sure. I see blood, I see the animals suffering, and the crowd is cheering more and more. This is so controversial for me, and I don't know, I definitely cannot understand this. I cannot understand how you can feel joy while seeing an animal suffer, an animal or anything. I think the matador is supposed to kill him as quickly and smoothly as possible. The quicker it is, I believe, the better it is. Like, the more points he will get, the better he will be judged. But that doesn't seem to be working out that well here. I lost count, I think that was the fourth one. And the bull is still standing. I think the crowd is getting impatient. It was just the fifth one. And the bull is standing. Number 6. Now it fell. And that's it. We've just seen a second bull, and that one got killed way smoother and quicker with just one punch of the sword, and seconds later it already fell down. So that was way less painful to see for me. Still, for me, I don't know, it does remind me of the old gladiator fights. It's a little bit the same principle. It seems to be a very old tradition, a very medieval and savage tradition as well, in my opinion. But yeah, at some point human beings received basic human rights and the right to live and die peacefully and without pain. Animals are still missing that right. I just gotta say that for me this is extremely hard to see. We do have very kind neighbors here, by the way. I also want to emphasize that people here, like, only because I believe this is a very cruel tradition doesn't mean that these people here are bad people. It's definitely nothing for everybody, but these people enjoy it for a reason that I personally do not understand. But they are very kind, they are extremely respectful, they are explaining us things. Yeah, it makes it easier to understand it, but still not easier to watch for me. Spain is divided about the bullfights, and so am I. I could definitely see some beauty today. For example, the way they take care of the bulls before they enter the ring, the clothes, the tradition, even the movements of the matadors were somehow beautiful. But for me, this was also extremely cruel. For me, it was hard to see the animals suffer, and even harder to understand that people were cheerful. They were extremely excited about this. And I don't understand how people can be excited about seeing something, an animal, something that is alive, suffer so much. For me, this is definitely hard to process. I could also see the economy behind it, the money, the jobs, the people that really depend on all of this. However, the question is, does money and entertainment really justify the pain and suffering of animals? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below.